Okay, Facebook, we are at the Waxahachie City Council, City Hall, and we're going to be going down into the chambers. They're having a neighborhood meeting discussing a planning development that they've got going. So I'm going to flip the camera, we're going to see it. There seems to be a lot of people so far that have showed up. And we've got boots on tonight. Sounds like a lot of people too. Wow. They opened it up. Usually it's just this part right here. This is usually closed. But it is full tonight. Wow. Hey, great. That was the city manager.
All right, welcome aboard.
Set up my tripod here. And my camera keeps tilting while I do this. Now let's get some height on my tripod. It's probably good enough. Straighten it all out. So you can see they have three different screens. Yeah, Kelly, this is not so much just a city council meeting. This is a neighborhood planning thing that they are holding kind of a town hall on. They put doorknob hangers out on a lot of these people's doors just this past weekend. So this is not a regular city council meeting. You see, there's the wall. They usually have that closed off. So it's just the front part that's usually city council stuff. And yeah, today it is quite the turnout all the way back here. There's a couple of empty chairs, a few empty chairs. And once they get going, I will zoom in on the maps and stuff. Let me go get one real quick.
Get started. So straight down to 6:30. So we try to be start on time and decent girls' time. I appreciate it so much. This is a great turnout. Obviously, this is of interest, so I'm glad for this participation. By way of introduction, I'm Michael Scott. I'm the city manager here at Waxahachie. And we have a number of staff members as well. City Manager Tommy Ludwig right here. Our planning department's right here. Colby Collins, Sean Brooks, and Chris Webb. Our communication director Amy Borders heading up the door right there. Let's go ahead. Assistant Manager Albert Lawrence is in the back.
This is the FAQ. I'll take pictures of this later on.
So we're here to help facilitate this meeting.
That way you can see what it all is.
This is a public meeting. Just to be clear, kind of what we're doing today. This is a public meeting.
Yes, I'll move it.
It's really just like kind of town hall. Here's some ideas. We want to solicit your all's feedback. So nothing has been decide at this point on the zoning district. This really is a conversation that's been ongoing for a while, and now we're at the point where we can kind of say, hey, we got something that's somewhat kind of taking shape, and we want to get feedback from the community. So that's why I'm kind of excited about this level of interest, because it's so hard sometimes in city government to engage citizens and get their feedback. And so that's why I think this will be a great conversation. These guys are going to do the heavy lifting here in a few minutes to kind of present the concept. They'll go through their presentation, and then they will have a Q&A at the end. And hopefully everyone has a copy of the handouts. There's still a few more over here. Does everyone have those? I think it's got a Q&A sheet. Hopefully we'll answer some of the questions about the and those that aren't on there that don't answer, you can ask there at the end after our presentation. So just by kind of a background again, this is not necessarily a city initiative that came about. It actually is an initiative that came from one of our boards. We have a downtown board called Waxahachie Partnership. They oversee kind of the downtown area and kind of growth and so forth. We started that back in 2002, and they've been kind of keep an eye on the downtown, helping try to facilitate growth in around the downtown. And so it came from that board, and it's taken us about 18 months to get to this point where we can have something to present to you all. Again, it has not gone through city council. In fact, there's some city council members here who this is going to be new to them. It's just a concept at this point. It's not gone through the P&Z, which we'll have to do that as well to go that far. So there's still quite a bit of process, quite a bit of legal process we have to go through, which does include public hearings where, again, notifications go out. Anytime we have a zoning change, notifications go out to state laws, by all state laws, certainly we get those notifications. This is really just, again, a way of engaging the public. We want your all's input in this process. It's not about us trying to do something behind closed doors. It's a very public process. That's why I think we're having this many folks turn out tonight. So without further ado, I want to introduce Greg. He is actually a representative of the Waxahachie Partnership. He serves in that capacity as a little bit on historic Waxahachie. So we have a very representative board that comes together in Waxahachie Partnership. The downtown merchants are engaged in that, historic Waxahachie, a number of local businesses, some members at large that sit on that board. So really kind of a collective group. And Greg is going to share some few thoughts from the board's perspective on this process.
Thanks, Mike. So again, it's great to see such a big turnout. The Waxahachie Partnership has spent a lot of time with the P&Z guys, specifically Sean's team, and a lot of time with Colby as well, looking through this new downtown neighborhood proposal. I would encourage everyone here to kind of look at this from the perspective of not just how it would particularly impact you, but how it could impact the city. So we are looking at this obviously from the bigger picture, trying to drive a very positive future for the city of Waxahachie. We've all seen the expansion of the downtown district, and this is trying to get ahead of the problem. So maybe problem is a bad way to put it, but trying to get ahead of the situation, and just in terms of thought. So these guys have been great to work with. They have shared a lot of ideas with us. Just 2 points to make. Number one, they've been very willing to change and adapt to input that we've given them. I'm obviously the representative from historic Waxahachie, so I look at this more from a historic eye. But we have representatives in WPI from CVB, the Chamber, DMA, private business, the county, the city, a lot of different organizations. So there have been many eyes in terms of reviewing this plan, but it's probably only partially formed. So I'd say just keep that in mind. One other thing to share, I would say take a look at some of the businesses that you would consider successful in this area. Once we go through the plan, one of them that comes to mind is White Rhino. If White Rhino is a good example, and I think most of us would agree, is a good example of a way to make responsible use of a historic building and still fit nicely, aesthetically, into the landscape of historic Waxahachie. These are the types of things that we're trying to drive toward. So I don't think these guys are trying to tell you what color to paint your house or how many cars that you can park on the street. They're trying to get out ahead of a transition that's going to take place probably whether we like it or not. So with that, I'll give it back to the P&Z team and let them review the plan. Thanks.
One other quick thing, and I know people are probably coming and going throughout the evening, but if I can take a quick poll, because like I said, we're always trying to engage our citizenry. For this effort, we did a Blackboard Connect call. Can you raise your hand if you received that Blackboard Connect call? It should have been everyone in that zoning district should have received that call if you're signed up on that list. Okay, so a few of you, what about the door hangers? Who got a door hanger on the door? Okay, so that works pretty well on this slide. Okay, good. And then how about social media? You can vote twice, it's okay. Okay, so a little bit of everything. Okay, but the door hangers look like the majority of you all folks got the door hangers, so that's good. Okay, that's great feedback. Thank you very much. I'll tell you what, I'm going to turn it over now to Sean Brooks, Colby Collins, and his team for the presentation, and take a minute. I'll go to the Q&A at the end.
Thank you, Michael. My name is Sean Brooks. I'm the Director of Planning here for the City of Waxahachie. So thank you all for letting me be a part of the community. As stated, this is, and Greg stated it perfectly, this is an attempt to get out ahead of what could be the future for Waxahachie. As you can see, central area, which is here in pink, central area is what we consider downtown. Central area is a zoning district. Central area has no parking requirement. The intent being that you would park in the parking garage or you find on-street parking with hopefully the availability of enough parking for all businesses in downtown. Now, obviously, this probably isn't taking into consideration, say, I don't know, a festival that draws 40 or 50,000 people, but on the day-to-day, hopefully, the parking works. That wouldn't necessarily be the intent of the downtown neighborhood. We understand that as you move out into the neighborhood, there may be different parking needs. So let me just tell you about that a little bit. As we've seen with the central area, these businesses are going to fill up, hopefully, right? We have good tenant rates here in our downtown. We have a very high tenant rate. I think there may be about 10% vacancy in the downtown proper, in the central area. So outside of that, we've already seen some growth. We mentioned the White Rhino. We've got the Backroom Shop, which is across the street from the central area zoning district. We've got a law office on Kaufman to the east side. And then as you go north, you get Water Street. We know that we have several businesses on Water Street, industrial, and different types of uses. So what the goal here is to take all of these uses, knowing that we have residential sprinkled within. And knowing that we have residential sprinkled within, we know that people live there, right? So where people live, obviously they're concerned with noise, parking, walkability in general. Can I walk down my street? Is it safe? Is there too much traffic? These are all things that we're looking at and we're considering when we're adopting this downtown neighborhood zoning district. What this downtown neighborhood zoning district will do to you directly, for those of you that live in this area, it will change the zoning on your property. What does that mean to you? For those of you that live here, that work here in this red outlined area, it will mean that what you do, where you live or work, it will remain the same in perpetuity. So as long as you live there or work there, that won't change. Grandfathering, right? We have the term existing uses, right? So these existing uses are allowed to remain in perpetuity, and no one would change that from the city. Yes, we're putting a zoning district, downtown neighborhood on you, but what does that really mean? All right, so for your day-to-day life, for now until someone decides to sell or change use or do something like it, it would mean nothing right now. In the long term, the intent of this zoning ordinance or zoning district would be to protect you. Where our intent is to provide protections as far as setbacks, uses, and then just added bonuses in my mind, which would include the walkability, right? Requiring better sidewalks and then lighting, things like that for the zoning district itself for new development. Some of that will be done on existing reuse. If someone were to have a house, these are things we'd have to take on a kind of case-by-case basis where we would say, look at the property and look at what upgrades needed to be made, which currently happens, I know in this area. So, for example, the law office right on Coffee Street, you have to have parking for your employees, you have to have parking for customers. So these are a few of the things that we consider when we look at doing the parking requirement. How much do we need? How much do we plan for? There is not any intent on going and demolishing houses or ruining historical character or anything like that. Not anything in this plan would say destroy the historical character of Waxahachie. That is not the intent. That's not what we're looking to do at all. So with this, we'd be looking to say to you, to the residents of the area, as to what the future holds for this area. Some people may long-term want to sell. Some people may want to retain their property, existing residential, and say reuse it to open such an office. Obviously, that's your right as a property owner as to what you do with your property. The city, yes, we do put zoning on the property. Let's get a little bit into that. Colby, if you don't mind, so this is Colby Collins. He's a senior planner in the planning department. I just wanted to give him a chance to talk to you a little bit about the use chart, what the use chart does for the downtown neighborhood zoning district, and then I guess comparisons to what is existing and then what is proposed.
Okay, again, my name is Kelli Cook. I'm a senior planner here with the city of Waxahachie. I kind of had a chance to meet with some of you guys tonight before the meeting started. To reiterate, thank you again for you guys coming out tonight. It shows us really how much you guys care about your area and about the city of Waxahachie as a whole. So as Sean mentioned, I do want to touch on briefly about the use chart. And so, again, tomorrow morning around by 10 a.m., we will post everything that we're talking about tonight in a PDF version on the city website. So for all you guys can see, it's going to be on an electronic format under the planning and zoning website. So just FYI, and we'll post that here shortly after the presentation. But jumping into the use chart, a lot of you guys, I've heard a lot of complaints over the past couple of days, what's going to happen to my house, what's going to happen to my business, et cetera, et cetera. And again, like Sean mentioned, this is more so thinking ahead down the line. I really don't want to put a number on how many years, but we're thinking more so how to protect and how to enhance the downtown, not only the downtown area, but the outskirts of the downtown neighborhood area as well. And so mainly, as you guys see on the screen, a lot of that area consists of red, which stands for commercial. And I can just take that for an example. So currently, under the current use chart, certain uses under commercial allows for amusement parks outdoors, allows for farms, allows for a lot of auto-related uses. Those are some of the things we're going to get away from. So currently in the updated downtown neighborhood use chart, uses such as that, farms, amusement park outdoors, auto-related uses, we're going to go away from a lot of those types of uses. And so I'll just take commercial again for an example because you see a lot of red there on the screen. Again, a lot of that yellow represents single-family residential, and as Sean stated again, we're not looking to get away from that. We're looking to keep that, and only certain. For example, if you want to sell your home, and somebody wants to come in and buy that, and if you're a neighbor and you're worried about something turning into a major business or anything like that, as planners, we're still going through the site plan process. We're still going through the review process, and a lot of these things in the updated downtown neighborhood use chart requires what we call SUPs, which stands for specific use permits. All specific use permits require to go through the Planning and Zoning Commission. They are required to be approved ultimately by City Council as well. And so, with a lot of uses under the current use chart, you don't have that. A lot of those uses are allowed by right. Somebody could just come in and build some of the examples that I've mentioned to you guys before. So going forward, we're looking to make this a little more restrictive. We want the P&Z, we want the City Council to hear it, and ultimately, for certain zoning changes, which is what that SUP will ultimately require, a lot of you guys will get notified if you're 200 to 300 feet located around that area. And so you guys will also have a chance to be heard and have your voice be heard in a platform such as this. And so those were a couple examples in regards to the use chart. Again, tomorrow morning at 10 a.m., we will post everything we're talking about, example of the maps, how it currently is now, which is what you see. It'll show the downtown neighborhood map, which is everything within the red line border on the screen. Also, we'll include the full detailed use chart, and we'll have our contact information for you guys to contact us with any questions, whether it's this or anything else. So I did just want to touch on that for you guys, and again, if you guys have any questions in regards to that, myself, my planning director, Sean Brooks, as well as the city managers will stay behind and answer any questions or any concerns that you guys may have in regards to it. Thank you.
Just wanted to go over the map a little bit more in detail. So what Colby's describing is commercial zoning. So we have different zoning types, as you guys might know. Currently, we have the red here, which is commercial, which he's speaking of. These are your more intense commercial uses, which include some of the automotive type uses. The pink would be a general retail zoning. So this is just kind of a step down from commercial, and then it would be more of your office, maybe a restaurant, retail, obviously, type uses. So those include those commercial, right? Those are commercial businesses, but they don't fit into the commercial zoning category. In addition to that, we have included some residential area, industrial area up north. So north of north of the railroad tracks there, you can see some industrial zoning. South of City Hall here. We've got some industrial down there as well. So taking all these different zoning districts and then these different allowable uses. So on, say, Rogers Street, you've got a automotive repair shop, right? In a neighborhood type setting. It's behind the townhomes that were built there on Monroe. So that, in a zoning term, would not be a compatible use for a residence. You've got auto body making, loud noises or using different equipment or machinery to fix autos and next to a residence. So long term, if that were to change use in any way, if the building were to be sold or we were to get a new tenant in that building, that use would no longer be allowed. So that's just an example of one way we're looking to make it a little more residential friendly, knowing that we would have a mix of the residents with the business. Ultimately, it's not a task of ours to control, obviously, if you sell or buy or sell property, but we're tasked with ensuring the safety and the best welfare for the community, and so that's what we're trying to do. Obviously, tonight through this process, we'd like to hear from some of you. Hopefully the frequently asked questions, hopefully that helps at least try to get us an understanding of what we're trying to do here. We would like to have your input through this process. Obviously, we're working on a plan. So right now, this is a neighborhood meeting. It's not a public hearing. This is just an open forum. We're providing you with information. You're providing us with information. Some of you may like it, some of you may not. Some of you may say, I'm not sure. And that's fine. That's fine. I want to hear from everyone. Obviously, time is valuable to all of us. So if you could please keep your comments at least to a reasonable question to answer. That way we can. But I'd be happy to discuss further in detail. I know some of you around the room have said, have reached out to me previously and said, hey, do you have 5 minutes to meet with me? I just have some concerns. Sure, absolutely. Planning department staff, obviously that's what we're here for. We're here to help you. We're here to help you understand what it is we're doing and what we're looking to do in the future. Through this process, like I said, this is a public hearing. This is not a public hearing, sorry. This is just a forum for you to understand what it is we're looking to do with the downtown neighborhood zoning district. If this were to move forward, we would then have a planning and zoning commission hearing, which would be a public hearing. You would have another opportunity to speak at that hearing, and then a city council meeting would follow from that prior to any adoption. What I would like to say is, Colby spoke to some SUPs and different zonings in the use chart. If an item were to need an SUP or not be allowed by right in the zoning chart, you then would have an opportunity again If it needs an SUP, that means it's a specific use permit that's only granted by the Planning and Zoning Commission and the City Council. So that means if it has an S on it, it goes through the public hearing process. Colby mentioned within 200 feet of that property, you would get notified, and then again, you would have some say. If it's allowed by right, city staff would look at the application. We would see if it meets the parking requirements, if it, and if it's a change of use, then we would look at it to see if it meets the parking requirements, that it has landscaping, if they're doing site work and things like that. We would have the ability to get added sidewalks, and then lighting for pedestrian mobility throughout the area. So, Michael, did you want to add anything? No? Yeah, all right. Well, then we will go to questions. Like I said, please don't raise your hands. Not all at once. No, if you would please, like I said, just try to keep it to where everyone has a chance at least to get an understanding of question and answer. Appreciate it.
I've got a few quick questions. I mean, it's interesting you brought up like condos, because they just finished the Cedar Hill investigation about all of that stuff between being on city council and doing this and doing that. Now it's going from the Dallas district attorney on up the ladder. So I don't think that was probably a real big deal. We've already pimped out downtown once. Amen. Okay, and it's hurt us. And they're still sitting there with 40% vacancy, and they haven't lived up to what they said they were doing. And the other thing I'm interested in is how many individual owners is in that expanded area? Because I don't think it's individuals like us. I'm thinking there's probably 3 or 4 people that probably control maybe 40% of that. Because for the last 5 years, this town has been a gold digger's mine. If I can make a buck off of it, by owning it, selling it, or financing it, we're going to do it. And we don't have people that battle out of votes. We don't have people that recuse themselves. And so those are the details I'd like to know. It's not, it's for the good of the company, it's for the good of the city, it's for the good of the kids. I sit on the parks board, I sit on the church board. I've done both for over 20 years. And it just kind of smells a little fishy. So I need that kind of information before anybody can kind of push this across to the landscape. And by the way, I own 3 businesses that are within this district. Mine and my family.
Is there a question I can answer for you right now? Who owns the properties? I think by our count we have over 150 individual owners that, and to the show of hands, I would say multiple people received a green tag on their door. So
No, those are renters. Those aren't owners. I don't own my buildings. I rent those buildings, and that was why I got taxed.
So do
So
we?
don't tell me you got 150. You put out 150 tags, and that's it. That's what you got to look into. Where are the dollars behind this?
I would say in this room would be my answer.
I rent.
So
All 3 of my businesses, I rent that property.
we'll go ahead and go to the next question.
Work on those areas before we get in front of me.
I'm not going to get up because I'm on have crutches. So my husband and I are homeowners in the proposed district, and I have lots of questions, but I'm going to just start with one right now. In terms of the WPI having, made this proposal and done all this, the first time I ever learned of it, I'm the president of Historic Waxahachie, and I appointed Greg to the WPI board. Didn't hear about it until February. And then I invited myself to a WPI meeting. That was the first time I've heard of it. But since I've been on crutches, I've done some research, and I found that back in December of 2017, there was an article in the Daily Light that said, hey, we're gonna, WPI is doing this, new downtown neighborhood district. But I didn't know about that until last week when I was doing some research. So I guess one of my questions is, my understanding is WPI is a recommending group that recommends things for areas that are in TERS. And if the downtown neighborhood district is not going to be part of TERS, then why is WPI involved? And why are they making some of these decisions? The December 2017 article had a map in the paper, and the area, if you look at the back of this sheet, the area that was in the 2017 recommendation was more north and south. And all of a sudden it's changed to more east and west. And I'm like, coy, I want to know why. Who made that decision? What was done? How did that decision get made?
Thanks, Kelly. Actually, WPI, just to clarify, Once City Partnership, really, as I mentioned at the beginning, they really are the caretakers of the downtown. They have been since 2002 when they were formed and incorporated. And really, as far as, it really has nothing to do with TERS, nothing to do with the TERS district at all. As far as the changing of the boundaries, as I mentioned, this has been a work in progress for about 18 months. And so we're coming to you tonight just because we kind of got something we feel like is at the point that it's ready for further discussion. It's been a work in progress. Anything we've talked about before has always been kind of a draft. And that board really takes it very seriously as far as making sure that we're not wasting all this time. We could have brought a very early version of this to you all, and it would have been well thought out. It would have had a lot of holes in it, a lot of questions still in it. So our thought was, we wait till we have something that is ready to be presented to the public. That's why we're here tonight. So there's been no back room, let's do something or change the rules or whatever. This is just part of the process. And Washington Partnership is a recommending body. Again, in this case, it's based upon the zoning district because the downtown is reaching capacity. We have continual interest in branching out from the downtown, as you see directly around the downtown. So we thought, as Greg mentioned earlier, we got ahead of it and trying to put some standards in place to where it's an organized development, not a hodgepodge patchwork type of development. Because right now, the developer can come in, have a project on the outskirts of downtown, and then we go through the P&Z and City Council process and can be approved through that process. Okay? But there's no standards for what that looks like. Each one would be looked at individually and have their own set of standards. This kind of streamlines that to where there's at least certain standards that we understand are palatable and are orderly development. So that's why we can take on this initiative at all. And again, if there's not an appetite for this, it doesn't have to go any further. And if patchwork development is what we want to see as we move forward, we don't have to move forward with this. I mean, I'll be very honest with you, because if they can come in with a one-off project and just get an SGP for their project, it's not going to be some of these standards that are similar to those around. So that's why we're doing this. Sure.
So, because I'm on crutches, I sit around a lot and do a lot of research the last few weeks. And the other thing that I found that back in May of 2018, the city passed a new zoning ordinance. So I looked at that online, and what I found was that, there are use codes for, single family one, et cetera, et cetera. There are no use codes for downtown neighborhood. And so you're asking us to accept something that we don't know what we're accepting because there's no use codes.
That's by design. Okay? That zoning ordinance was adopted that way with those being blank. It's a placeholder. So that's why we're here today to say, well, what's going to go in those places? Right now, downtown neighborhood doesn't exist. Okay? It's shown in the zoning ordinance as blank. So in other words, there's not a single property in the city of Waxahachie that has that designation. So tonight, or through this process, we're hoping to populate that portion of the zoning ordinance. All right? Okay, thanks.
You mentioned that there was a setbacks chart that's going to be posted tomorrow at 10. Is that already ready?
Sorry, the use chart?
Yes.
Yeah, we have the use chart, the setback.
Well, the use chart, the setback chart, all of that. Is Is there any reason why we can't get like a visual of that here tonight?
Sure, yeah, we can pull that up for you. And so just to speak a little bit on the setbacks, what we're looking to do with the setbacks, I don't know how much anyone knows about the infill overlay ordinance and what it means to development here in Waxahachie, but what that means typically for residential development, if there's an empty lot on the street, you can build a house on that street as long as it maintains the character. If it looks like the other uses, the other residences on that block. So through this downtown neighborhood zoning district, one of our concerns is not so much the residential, but if a commercial were to go into a neighborhood. And what does that mean for those neighbors? I can't speak for everyone, right? But I personally would not want a commercial business to be built right up to the property line and that close to my residence. So with this downtown neighborhood zoning district, what we've done for those commercial developments is we have implemented a larger setback for the commercial development than we would a residential. So the residential could be built closer, whatever the adjacent neighborhood would be to the property. Say if, and we do have some properties here in Waxahachie where they were built pretty close to the property lines. If you were to build a residence, you could continue whatever was within 50 feet of your residential property, you could build to those setbacks. So what we're doing here is we're proposing to build,
Zoom in on that.
you can't read that in the back?
Back here. Sorry. Keep going.
It's the obligatory train whistle.
So here for, say a minimum rear yard, you would have 10 feet. As of right now, in the ordinance, if you were to get a building built, you could be closer than that 10 feet, depending on what those property setbacks were within 50 feet of the property line. And then lot width and depth, 10%, so we're maintaining the regulations that are in the current existing infill overlay by saying 10% of all lots within 50 feet. So the lot sizes, which most of the time would be already established, there may be some where you could have a larger lot where you would be establishing maybe a smaller, maybe 2 lots or something like that on an individual basis. Those would be required to meet those lot widths and depths of the lots within 50 feet of those properties. Let's see, and then the side yard, 10%, no less than 5 feet. There is the ability to have a lot closer than 5 feet even in the existing zoning ordinance. So the intent there would be to have a larger side setback and to maintain a large rear setback. So right now it is changed she asked if the 3 stories is current. So depending on obviously the construction, if you're building residential or commercial, 3 stories right now.
So currently residential is 2 stories, and in this case for commercial buildings, we are proposing 3 stories for the main structure. Or up to 3 stories, I should say.
How tall are the stackers?
3 stories? Yes, those are 3 stories. Well, so it's 3 stories, and it does have the storage area on the top floor.
So I have a question. I don't know, I'd kind of like to see a raise of hands of who understands exactly what's going on, because I know I can't be the only one that does not understand. But it seems to me like this is really gearing up for more condos and more townhomes. And I'd like to know your answer Is that what you're wanting? And if that's a no, then how is this benefiting residential owners in these neighborhoods? How is this benefiting us? Whatever it is that you're proposing that I don't understand yet.
So the intent of the downtown neighborhood is to provide walkability, right? With the change of use, we get increased landscaping, sidewalks, lighting, pedestrian lighting. So that would be the benefit to having a zoning change.
I'd like to ask her a question here.
I mean, if we get the sidewalks, we get the lighting, let's move on. If y'all do that, you're.
Well, isn't that city street maintenance?
Department and all that.
Light maintenance?
Can I ask a question?
Is there a way for y'all to bullet point what y'all are wanting to do in a more concise manner, other than just sidewalks, lampposts, but what y'all's grand vision is? Is there a way for y'all to bullet point it and make the residents and the business owners and everything understand for us what that's going to be?
And where are you putting in the condos?
I'm not putting it in condos. So what this really is looking at is commercial zoning coming to the neighborhood? It seems that way, because we have attorney's office, we have some retail. You go up Main Street, yes, there is commercial that has taken over old houses, right? There are commercial businesses. So the intent with this ordinance is when that happens, we then get something back from that, not just this house flipped to a commercial. The residents that remain get the sidewalks, get the walkability, the pedestrian, the tributes that would come from that. So yeah.
Right.
Well, this doesn't take away from existing infrastructure improvements, no. I mean, if there's a roadway that is currently on our CIP plan for improvements, yeah, that's gonna happen. I guess I'm not.
But you said it is number 2.
To allow commercial, to allow us to have sidewalks.
So you're saying you just want the sidewalks?
And that's not.
What I'm saying with this particular zoning is that commercial is coming. We've seen it. We know that there are existing offices.
If we don't want it, it doesn't matter.
If we go back to the map, we see that Main Street from downtown down Main Street is zoned general retail. So what that means is these properties all along Main Street, can you follow with that? Along Main Street are permitted commercial uses. We know that, right? So what we're saying is if we have any more properties which would seek zoning change, which these properties did, I'm not sure the date on when they sought that zoning change.
Why y'all have cut so deep in certain areas into residential areas?
So this, the downtown neighborhood area was established through the WPI, working with staff.
But there's places you've gone all the way to Oldham on Kaufman Street, you go all the way to Murdoch on Wyatt Street. Why have you cut so deep into residential? I see you wanted to expand just the center part a little more. For condo, decent to residential.
So since I have the microphone, I think I get to talk next. Everybody that knows me, I'm sort of a nut on preservation. It brought us to Waxahachie because we got to choose the town. We didn't have to move here for business or anything else. And so I've worked really hard since 1976 to save the historic character of Waxahachie. We've been lucky enough to add some National Register districts. We currently have a surveying plan that's going to be surveying all the way from Marvin down to the ETJ on the south, surveying historic properties across 35 and way out MLK. And so we potentially have the chance, because a 50-year limit is the age that you can designate a property historic. So we have a chance to do all that. What I worry about, and the question I have is
some of the literature coming out of your meetings that I've been privy to, it doesn't, part of this encroaches onto our National Register District of West Main Street. It encroaches onto our National Register District of Oldham Street that we just recently made an overlay district. One of the things I read from a previous meeting, and since we don't have any updated, that's all we can go on, said that the zoning of this neighborhood would override our overlay district. Well, we just worked hard with the neighbors on Oldham Street in over 75% approval for us to have the right to control the exterior, because those of us who love our historic properties will stand up for them. So, one of my questions is, in one of the statements, in one of the literature, part of the literature I've been reading from meetings, was that it would require enormous masonry, brick, or plaster construction. Well, wouldn't that look darling next to my 1890 house? You know, it just wouldn't work. So, I think we have a lot of questions that probably can't get answered here tonight. It sounds to me like those of us who are preservation nuts, and there are a lot of us here, want to control what we've worked so hard to save, because this is the image of Waxahachie. I'm on the commission that had to approve the little 2 condos that went downtown because it fit within the guidelines. I did not foresee that the line would be moved to Hawkins Street, and as far north as it has, and frankly, as far east, because the east side has been under huge changes, a lot of good changes, some positive things happening there, but it's just been taken over by this, so you need to,
To answer a few of those, so the outline is really done when we look at the downtown and the surrounding area, and we look at what is where the businesses are, right? So some of that, yes, when we talk about going east, we say, okay, there are existing businesses that go that far, and therefore that line was drawn that way. So we try to look at where existing businesses were, and then where we can see potential growth of business around those existing businesses. To answer your other question about overlay, what does this mean? Yes, we stated that the infill overlay that's the only overlay the intent was to address. It doesn't take away your historic overlays or your historic areas at all. Yes, ma'am. Yeah, you have your historic. I know how hard you worked, and you and I have talked, and I know that you put a lot of effort into it. So no, ma'am. There's no effort to destroy any historic Waxahachie. That's not the intent by this law.
That domino theory works is you get one block, and then you take the next block, and then you take the next. So you have to look at those, because just the building standards alone are what you're suggesting in this neighborhood are not what are suggested in National Register districts, and yet we have a National Register district within that space. So I'd love to come and talk to you some more.
I know you would. I'd love to have you. We've actually had some pretty good conversation. Well, to speak on that, with the infill ordinance, it would require that using it would allow you to build to the character of the neighborhood, and that would not go away, and that is not the intent. So so that is for new construction. If you don't use, it's in the existing ordinance right now. The existing ordinance allows you to use masonry construction unless you're using the infill overlay. If you want to use the infill overlay, which we would prefer you do in that situation, you can build to the character of the neighborhood, you can use the siding, you can continue to build. Our ordinance as of right now, it requires masonry construction. In single family 1, 2, and 3, yes. In single family zoning, we require masonry construction. If you choose to use the infill overlay, which I would encourage you to do, and that's a good reason that it's there, is you build to what the character of the neighborhood is. That's where the setbacks come in, and that's where the only deviation to the infill overlay is what we're saying is setbacks for commercial. You wouldn't be able to use the infill overlay setbacks, which could be minimized. You'd be held to these standards, which would be increased. That way you wouldn't be so close to the surrounding residences.
So let me jump in right there on the standards. See, I'm on the corner of Hawkins and Main, so I've got a lot of stuff going on just with our boys going to the baseball field. But the problem is, any of this expansion stuff, you're overloading the one street or a park. When girls get out and go, wherever they need, that's already congested. So just that aspect alone is too much. So I go the next further step on the ordinance side. I want to see something about sound ordinance. I'm a professional musician. I love loud music, but not 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. And I'm getting more of that and more of that going down our historical neighborhoods. I want a sign that says, hey, when you come into our neighborhood, this is a historical district. We want to keep our characteristics, we keep the quality, family, good life, all that good stuff. We don't need to be hearing that stuff all hours of the day. So can we do that too? Can we help preserve what it is that where we live?
So the question is, can we add sound?
Yeah.
Sound.
Because you're going commercials, that's going to get louder. And then we don't want the loudness, we want what we have now.
This is a neighborhood meeting. It's your meeting. This is your neighborhood. So yes, we can look at adding sound into the ordinance. Could we also look at existing ordinances, not just sound, but just saying existing ordinance? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're here for public input, so I do want to thank you for having that public input, so that yeah, we can make this change.
Can I ask a question? Never mind. When you talk about these businesses that, theoretically, every house on Jefferson could become a business or a bar or a restaurant. What are you looking at? What's your ideal percentage of businesses? At what point does, you've got 5 businesses on a block and only 1 residential house left. Is there a percentage? When you talk about that grandfather in, but who's going to want to stay in a residential house that everybody else has become business? And then what does that do to you trying to sell your residents? And talking about, I'm down the street from Howard, and what if my neighbor who's got a lovely home and a neighborhood, if she decides to turn hers into an event venue, and I've got a wedding on Saturday and the whole street's lined with cars, and I want to have an event at my home on Saturday, and what's to keep them from blaring their music for the wedding until midnight, and I've got to listen to that.
So we have talked about sound ordinance. Yes, that's something we can look at here in the present for the future. Having a stricter sound ordinance, more enforceable sound ordinance, yes, that's something that's valuable input that we can take from tonight.
Well, I think one other factor, of course, talk, because you've had a lot of time to talk. I want to talk. You call it a downtown neighborhood. It already is a neighborhood. That's a misnomer. You need to say zoning change to commercial. Business, business, business is what you've said 100 times up there. You've never said housing and residential. When Greg got up, he said, this transition is coming whether we like it or not. And then Michael said, well, we're here to vote on it, or we're here to decide. What is it? Do we get a say in this, or is it going to happen are you going to cram it down our throats?
No, ma'am. So, the downtown neighborhood, and what this is a zoning district, yes. Does it allow commercial uses in it? Yes, it does. What the intent is, we know that commercial is coming. We've seen it. I know that it's on Kaufman, I know that it's on Main Street. Because people buy these properties, and that's what they want to do as well. So for those of you that are already there, what does that mean to you? What it means to you right now is potentially nothing. Right? And so we have parking requirements in the zoning ordinance, and we have parking requirements for the downtown neighborhood. So what it means to you potentially right now is you are a homeowner. What does that mean for you? As a homeowner, it may mean that your neighbor sells. And if you live further out and there's acreage next to you, and somebody were to buy that and build houses, it means that zoning change occurred, and you you would have a public process to have your input in.
Is multifamily being considered, or is it just single family and all of it?
There's some allowance for multifamily, yes, but there's some existing allowance for multifamily. There's some existing allowance for multifamily in what we have right now. So right now, let me say, yes, you have single family, and so again, the map's on the screen. You have existing single family, yes. You also have industrial, you have commercial, and you have general retail represented on the map. So yes, those are the zoning districts that you have right now, currently. So we know that there's warehouse, we know that there's automotive, we know, so the intent is then to protect you against the automotive, against the warehouse.
But not against the restaurants or the
Well, let me just say this, a bar is not an allowable use in the downtown.
Not yet.
Well, it also, in the central area, a bar requires a specific use permit. So if there is a bar in downtown proper, in the central area zoning district, you would have to have a specific use permit, which would mean a public process, which means public hearings, which means you then get to have your input again on that, the bar in that area.
But doesn't any commercial require an SUP? John?
Sorry?
Doesn't any commercial moving in, if somebody bought a house in that overlay that hopefully won't be okay, and they want to open up a commercial business, don't they have to apply for an SUP anyway, under the existing rules? Yes. Yes. No, not the red.
Not the red, not the purple, not the pink, and the red is an existing area that you have in this area that we're talking about. So the red, the purple, and the pink are existing.
I would suggest that the problem is you need to redraw your line. There are properties within that line that I think everybody here would go along with having maybe a condo or an apartment. But not that big a chunk. So I think what you're hearing from all these people here is redraw the line.
Hi guys, I have a couple of clarifying questions that might help. It sounds like you have a lot of people here tonight that want to be involved and help and learn about this, but they weren't given any background information whatsoever to give you guys constructive input and feedback. And I know that you said the next process is to take it to a planning and zoning meeting. No?
No, again, this process is still early.
And that was part of the clarification. Right, and one of the things I was wondering is, would we be able to put a page up on the website that shows these are the current uses, this is the proposed use, give people an email form that they can submit their address and what they're looking at, and then have another one of these where people are informed, they've read the information, it's been made available, because this meeting tonight wasn't even on the website or calendar, much less with any information about what is and is not allowed, which is what you're hearing a lot of people ask. So, is there a timeline on like another town hall?
We'll go through our process we need to. And in fact, I mean, and just to clarify, what Greg was talking about, he said the road is coming. That's what comes over like or not this happening over like or not. This is still a process. So, getting more feedback, we'll continue the process, continue feedback.
Okay.
We've heard a lot of
For the people in the room, how many of y'all would be willing to come back in 1 month for another meeting like this?
Great, I love it.
There you go.
Thank you, Amy. I appreciate you saying that. And Jim, to your point, the district is large, right? And WPI, we actually kicked that around quite a bit as far as what land should be brought in, which one should not. In fact, I've told, I don't know, it was Tom today, I said, I looked at the other night, tonight, we were talking about pulling that in a little bit. So your comment doesn't surprise us. I think WPI was looking at ultimately they can see this area and the size that it is being included in that, and maybe just need to have more organically in bite-sized pieces. So I appreciate that comment, and I don't necessarily disagree with you. So we've heard you on that, and it sounds like a lot of people agree with that. So we'll work on that. I think Rusty, yes, real quick, I guess.
I've lived in Waxahachie. I've lived on Roger Street for 47 years. And my question to you is, has this got something to do with the
selling or buying with First Baptist Church?
Nothing at all, thank you. No, this has nothing to do with buying and selling with the First Baptist Church. Y'all, again, this is a zoning change. It has nothing to do with who owns what property. It's coming from WPI, which is an impartial board made up of a number of members who are not affiliated with banking institutions. I mean, there's one individual on there, but that's not the driving force. It's a consortium of different folks. And so, no, this is just, it's a zoning change. So, no, to answer your question. Thank you for asking that. Mr. Neal, yes, sir.
If live within the new zone, which I do have for a long time, rezoning, what's that gonna do to my taxes? I'm higher?
Yeah, actually, that's a question on your Q&A sheet. Okay, yeah, the answer is, it won't affect them, as far as we know, right? I mean, taxes are gonna go up in the future, but it should have no bearing on your zoning. The appraisal district does not look at your zoning as far as when they value your property, all right? They look at market, comparables and so forth, not that look at zoning.
I just don't want to get stuck in well, now you're in a commercial zone,
Yes.
so you're gonna pay commercial.
Yeah, yeah, good question, yeah, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
I have a couple of questions.
Okay.
I grew up in Waxahachie, but I lived different places for 22 years, two different cities. One did a really good job of keeping up with their historical buildings, and I think probably most of you know Nashville. It's very well known for its historic district because it took care of it. I also lived in Roswell. Unfortunately, there are very few historic buildings left there because they let businesses, Subway just recently came in, they tore down the building, put a Subway there, and it's on their main street, right there downtown. So my question is this, you said there's nothing in this to destroy your property, but is there anything in this that will preserve the historical value of our property? Because I'm not seeing that.
Yeah, great question. Anyone who knows me knows that I'm a fan of heritage preservation. That just attest to this. But I was originally hired as the downtown director 17 years ago, so it's near my heart. To answer your question, the ordinance, the overlay that Ms. Kaufman spoke of earlier, that's largely your protections, okay? So we do have an ordinance in place that protects and encourages restoration of historic properties. Again, this effort is a zoning piece. It really is less about tearing down homes and something more about the use and what those uses look like. So, no, we are very much, I'm asked oftentimes kind of what the biggest challenge is about a growing city. And you know what you hear about Waxahachie? Is we have such great historic character, and we need to preserve that, right? But also still remain relevant to young families and people that want to move to our community, because that's coming. That's what Greg was speaking to earlier. And so it's a constant balance of preserving our historic character. And so no, we actually are not going to do anything to jeopardize that.
I think part of the reason people want to come here, though, is because of the way we've been historically. They love that. But then that's that weird thing where people love it when they visit and then they come here and they want to change it to something else. And I think we should hold to our guns and say, no, Waxahachie is Waxahachie. People love to come here. And so we're not going to change because you came from Dallas and Oak Cliff and you wanted your neighborhood like you had there. No.
Right.
We're Waxahachie and we're going to be Waxahachie. The other question I did have, you said it's only more restrictions on like farms, amusements, car industry, and it will be on a case by case. Other than that, so am I understanding it correctly? If an individual bought a house next to my house and they wanted to put something else in there, I would just be out on my own defending myself to say that I don't want this next to me.
Okay, good question.
Is that right?
So the way that it works, I'll try to paraphrase what Cole said earlier, but the red areas are commercial, okay? It's called commercial zoning district. It allows a lot of uses, probably stuff you don't want next door to you, okay? What this effort would do, it would get rid of those uses as allowable, right? And it would put in residential, which of course is currently there, but also it would allow some other softer, non-residential uses. Okay, let me give you an example. Maybe it's a bakery, maybe it's an antique shop. Okay, some softer, non-residential uses. Those will be allowable by right. And you'll see that tomorrow when we post the use chart on the website. So then that's that level. Someone can just move in, buy the house, put in an antique store, let's say. Okay? And you would know about it, right? But then there's the next level, which is an SUP, specific use permit. process, or that requires a process to get that granted. So that's just a little bit more intense use, okay? And you would get a notice about it, you would come out, come to P&Z and City Council, say, hey, I don't want this next to me, this is a quiet neighborhood, this is gonna generate noise or traffic or whatever that problem is, and then you'd be able to make your case to the P&Z and City Council. That's how that works. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, sorry. It's me, Kathleen.
No, but with the downtown, with the downtown neighborhood, that would be the process. Today, though, in those red areas, by right, an automotive use could go in there. They couldn't. It's residential, yes, ma'am.
In the residential areas, if it changes to a downtown neighborhood district, what will be by right? What will the person next to me by right be able to do?
Right. And so that you'll see the use chart tomorrow, all right? But those are those lighter, like on softer, non-residential uses, a bakery, an antique shop. Those will be along by right. Okay. A coffee shop. Those are the things that we're saying. We're trying to open that door to where those type of uses will be allowed. All right.
Okay, so I have a mic now. I do, better here. Hi, I'm Gina. So, my job makes it so I can move anywhere in the world, okay? I chose this town simply because of the historical significance, the house we bought, the location of the house. It was in a neighborhood. I came from this sort of downtown area-ish type thing. It didn't work. We didn't like it. So I'm just kind of wondering how you guys decided these parameters, and did you have a specific model for this of another city like Sacramento, Bishop Arts District? That's what I'm saying. You know, something of that nature. And how many of you all live in this area?
Oh, yeah. Who lives here?
Yeah, so good question. As far as the model goes, you know, really, there's not one model to mimic this actor. In order to travel a fair amount, if you're familiar with the downtown district off in downtown Charlotte, North Carolina, they have a downtown central business district, and they've got a neighborhood that is beginning to kind of change where you've got some uses that, again, you're kind of expanding the footprint of the downtown. Not necessarily with those same level of uses, because certainly there's a compatibility issue, because you are still in a neighborhood, it's still a residential area, it's just allowing for a little bit bigger footprint to allow some of those non-residential uses. So the idea, though, is really that it's just, it's going to happen more organically, and so not every use is going to be deemed compatible.
It seems to me that most of the growth of the city is growing outward. Most of the people that work here work off of 35. I think it would make more sense to grow that way instead of from the inside out, from downtown to spread out, because I don't think anybody here is really in favor of this proposition. And I mean, myself, I'm not. I came from this. This is why I moved here. And now, you know, we're facing the same thing again. And I've seen, you know, I had a hookah shop next to us or whatever. You know, I don't know what I'm trying to say, but I just want to know why here, why out, and why these parameters? And what are you expecting? You said you didn't have any expectation, you didn't know what the growth was going to be, so if you don't know what the growth is going to be, how did you decide these parameters?
Yeah, good comment.
And again, the parameters come from obviously working with WPI and stuff, looking at existing commercial businesses and growth, both east, west, north, and south, and seeing where the commercial growth is in the neighborhood. We know that there's existing commercial in the neighborhoods. So really the parameters of the downtown neighborhood would be set. Where is that existing commercial and where
Guess who's on WPI?
To answer your question, that was how we looked at what was there here in the near future.
Kaufman Street has what, maybe 2 businesses on it? So how is it,
I'm not sure the exact number on Kaufman Street, but I will say, yes, on Kaufman, there's definitely an office, a large office in toward the railroad tracks, there's another commercial business. I know.
Anything else?
There is a business up on the railroad tracks. That old,
All right, so we live over here on the Hawkins Street, South Hawkins, and one of the things that's kind of started to affect us, and it's kind of going along with what's happening here, is the white rhino, right? The thing that I've noticed, you're talking about you want to bring in sidewalks and street lights. What about the roads? How many of you have ever driven down Waters and it's like single lane? The other day I was driving, I had to pull into somebody's driveway to turn around to go the other way because there's no room at White Rhino. And that whole street, people park all the way down Water Street just to go get a fancy cup of coffee. Now my next question is, Hawkins has the same problem. So it goes all the way down to the cemetery, and anytime there's a baseball game, it's the same thing. It's dark, you can put your street lights in, but that's not going to slow people down. That's not going to make our streets wider. So my question is, you're bringing in all these different developments. Why don't you deal with the infrastructure first before you put this huge footprint into place?
That's my neighbor.
And anyone who's been around Waxahachie knows that we have a very active street program. And I assure you that these streets that you're talking about, I grew on Waters the other day, I think that we had that on the list as well. So I know there are streets we still need to get to, but we have, council's getting very aggressive as far as redoing corridors. We have, 30 streets, I think, on our rehab program this year. So we're working on it. Yes, sir.
Why not focus on that before this? Take care of what's already wrong before you throw more problems into the mix.
I lived here 15 years and they done nothing but patch my road, and when it rains, it floods right into my garage.
Which road are you on?
And we've got a condo coming in behind us.
They come in, all of a sudden they get a brand new fancy concrete road drain. We didn't fix the problem, we just added to it. The fix the current cost, we tried to make more problem.
Yeah, thank you. All right, let's do one more question. I think we're getting the flag. I think we've got some changes we can make. I think this is good feedback. So, yes, sir.
Can I get a mic? I'm a horse.
Yeah.
Full disclosure, I've lived just slightly out of the stone, but I understand that people who live here, they have an interest in this and what's going on, have some concerns. And I agree with what Mr. Kaufman said, that maybe they need to look at the lines on that. But as a resident of Waxahachie, I appreciate what's happening downtown. I like it because my son came back from college and he considered living here because there's some decent things to do here now. You can go downtown and go to a nice restaurant. You can go have a glass of wine somewhere. And these are the kind of things that are going to attract what we want for Waxahachie. And downtown belongs to everybody. And I understand it's the great interest in those who live there, but that area is the image and the icon of this entire city. And everybody in town wants to be able to go down there and enjoy it.
So they need to
And I appreciate the concern about historic issues, but to maintain a historic building, it has to be economically viable. And the only way it can be economically viable if you're allowed to put something in there that you can pay the bills and keep it up and maintain it and preserve the historic integrity of that building going forward. Please take that into consideration. Thank you.
Thank y'all very much. Real quick, I said that we can be cognizant of people's time, so real quick. Yeah.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Y'all are all about to hate me because I have questions from a business owner's perspective. So regarding the district, because from what I've understood, y'all to say tonight, basically, the area, surrounded by the red line, currently isn't zoned by anything. Okay, so it's zoned. Okay, so, but y'all are planning on rezoning it? Gotcha. Okay, so within that, so I have a business in that area, and when we added I'm just gonna go ahead and say this. So we have funeral homes, not what anyone wants to think about. So when we added crematory, we had to come in front of planning and zoning. So with this rezoning, is that going to cause an issue for us with our crematory? Perfect. Okay. With this as well, are y'all looking at expanding the tourist district? Okay. I guess those are my questions. I just want to kind of encapsulate things. I agree with the gentleman in the back that growth is coming, and we need to have a constructive way to go forward and incorporate the growth. It's very apparent that we're all very concerned for various reasons. I think it's good that we have this hearing, but my question is, you said this map is going to go up on the website tomorrow. Is it a done deal? No. So in addition to that, I'm sure you have a secretary or somebody taking minutes. Okay. So, could you go back over, y'all meet, and go back over and incorporate these issues that people have talked about and redraw this, in light of what people have expressed, and then present it to us again, or even allow some of us, meaning not you guys or paid positions, to have an input, because the way I understand it, we don't even get to vote on it. Y'all could just pass it right through to city council, they vote on it, it's a done deal. Is that, no? Okay, but a hearing doesn't mean that.
But I think I just had to is probably a great idea, and that is let us go back, after we've got great input tonight, let us go back, take another crack at it, reduce the line, raise lower the 3-story issue, I heard a number of other things, like I said, my assistant's in the back taking notes, and see what we can adjust, and bring it back and present it to y'all again, and see if we're closer, if there's still concerns. Again, this is like making sausage, right? It's an iterative process, and we're just getting input right now, so that'd be all part of the process.
Well, maybe like stone soup, we could all contribute, we can come out with something that makes everybody happy and everybody's proud of. I can only speak for myself, but it seems like the concerns are people are afraid that something's going to be done without their ability to have any input, because, not to bring up old baggage, but it has happened in the past. And, we're curious to know if there are some big money people behind this, because it's such an odd configuration, about the residents. Why are we not worried about the residential area? Just, but, and also, I have a question. I have a business in this zone, and you said y'all were going to publish the use chart. Well, if we redistrict, will existing businesses have to get a special use permit if they don't come on the list of what is acceptable?
And Chelsea has the same question. The grandfather does not affect existing uses.
Okay. And then one more thing, and I will talk about this again. A lot of people question, but we do not have a parking perception problem. We have a parking problem all over downtown. And why don't we, while we're rezoning and growth, look at parking alternatives? We said maybe go visit other places. Downtown Miami have put in Esplanades, and you have to park off, ways. But then they have trolleys and things to come in. Maybe we could have a wonderful little trolley for downtown that was 25 cents or something that would take us to the parameter of these.
Seriously, I really appreciate y'all coming out, and thank you so much for your all's time. We've heard you, it's great input, and we'll go back and work. So thank you all very much.
Hey, Michael, when is the next city meeting that people can come and speak at? When is the next city council meeting where people can come and speak? Tell them that.
April 1st.
That's my proposal, is that we have two assistant city managers, one
Okay, you want to say something, Kathy? Oh, hang on, you're really, really close. I was zoomed in on their sign. Hi, Kathy.
Hi, Amy.
Tell everybody who you are.
This is a great meeting. I'm Kathy Ponce. I'm Amy's friend, co-activist in California. Don't California my Texas. And this is a great meeting tonight. Now, don't California my Texas.
What's going on in the Texas legislature?
We have a hearing this afternoon.
Yes, how'd it go?
Only 3 people testified. I guess a lot of people left.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, it should have been passed right out because it just is a view to the Democrats being shot today. But it hasn't been passed out yet.
It can still be passed out,
Yeah.
even with them voting against it. So.
And then tomorrow we got Jonathan Stickland's red light camera bill coming up.
Okay.
We all need to be there to support him.
And Rachel Malone had mentioned there was a bunch of stuff coming up tomorrow also.
Yeah. Now, I need a list for tomorrow.
Yeah, I gotta go check
We have
Texas
that
legislature.
special press conference on Thursday.
That's right.
In regards to SB 10 and SB 11.
All right, Thursday. It's at high noon, isn't it?
Fabulous. High noon at the Dallas or Austin Double Street.
And it's the one that's just north of the Capitol? Okay.
SB 10 and SB 11, mandatory psychological counseling and medicine on your child. Don't let parental rights be taken away. This bill needs to be stopped. It doesn't matter who's writing it. It needs to be stopped.
So, see guys, we've got a lot of stuff going on at our city level, at our school district level, at our county level, and at our state level. And in the party too. We've got an SREC meeting this weekend.
Yes.
So, we get to put a lot of miles on our car going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth.
We need to find something with a plane that flies to Austin and back.
The bullet train is coming, isn't it?
Yes, well, no.
That won't work. Won't do us any good.
Not any good. We're not going to Houston, we're going to Austin. So they're trying to deter us from
Okay. All right, guys. Share this video with everybody who lives in Waxahachie. Let them know what's going on. Thanks.